Recording. How are
Okay.
you?
I'm well. I'm so well. I'm excited to be here, grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Before you, I guess, tell folks who you are, would you mind? I always open with what is liberation to you?
Mm. Liberation to me is freedom. It's the ability to be my unique self, myself in my unique expression and whatever that may look like as my freest and fullest expression.
Is it possible to have freedom?
I believe so.
Oh,
I
great,
believe so.
great. Can you tell folks who you are? Yeah, what you do, what you're interested in. It's a weird
Yeah.
question. It might be a different answer tomorrow, but yeah.
So my name is Christine Olivia Hernandez, and I am the author of this beautiful book that is coming out soon called Remember Your Roots. And I actually grew up very disconnected from my roots, and I think many of us have. Um, I am second generation Mexican American and first generation Guatemalan, I guess you could say those. Yeah, my father was from Guatemala. He had come to the States when he was about 5 years old. My mother's first generation Mexican American, and they met in high school, and they had me. They had me very young in their teens. And my mother raised me as a single parent. My father left when I was about 3, came back and forth, and then took his life when I was 22. The same month I turned 22, he took his life. And so at that time, it was incredibly traumatic for me because he was in and out of my life, but I very much wanted a connection with him and thought that I had lost the opportunity to connect with that part of myself, a part that I thought would understand me and like get me. And I'd always felt like I didn't belong in my family situation at home with my mother and that side of my family. So felt like I lost that opportunity. And then in my 20s really went into numbing and even deeper disconnect from parts of myself. I think we all kind of lose ourselves as we age and as we grow because of society, because of the school system, because of our parents also being, so disconnected from who they are and being indoctrinated and, conditioned in our society. So in my 20s, I went into quite a numbing phase to support my coping and my ability to be with my big feelings and my traumas and things. And I had to get to like my lowest point, my toxic point in a toxic relationship, where that brought me to my knees. And I've been brought to my knees many times, but that had brought me to a point where I'm like, okay, I get to get up off this floor and I get to change everything. And I did that. I did that with the help of uh, first within myself, knowing that like I knew that this isn't all that there was for me. I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something more and I wanted to change my life. And so I did, and I took the steps. And, for me, that looked like going and doing a little bit of yoga and reading some self-help books and starting to inquire about what I wanted for myself and for my life, which then led me to cacao, which then changed my life forever. Yeah.
I just jumped into the world. I was just telling you that I was in Guatemala,
Mhm.
um, and experienced, their sacredness of cacao, their love of cacao, their relationship to cacao, and learning a lot about how it's medicinal, how also the Western's discovery of cacao really destroyed a people and a land, to keep up with our need for chocolate, and
Mm.
Hershey's, et cetera, et cetera. Before we get into cacao, you said you were disconnected from your roots. Does that mean, so I often speak about, like, what does it mean to be brown or to be anything? And
Mhm.
your disconnection, did that mean you don't speak the language or you didn't eat the food? What made you think you were disconnected? You didn't want to be Mexican, like what? Yeah.
Oh my God, a little bit of everything. I didn't even know what it meant to have the background that I had. I didn't know anything besides the very surface level of being Mexican. So I was more connected to being Mexican, but I knew nothing about being Guatemalan. I knew nothing about that lineage at all. And so for me, being Mexican in my family, that was like being Catholic, right? Like going to church, which I never resonated with that. So I would go to church once in a while for holidays and things with my grandmother, but that was more for her and the family. But for me, I didn't feel comfortable there. I didn't also speak enough Spanish, right? I never felt like enough in any of the situations because I wasn't brown enough and I wasn't white enough. I didn't speak enough Spanish and I didn't speak perfect English because I'm, still around my family the whole time. So yeah, it's interesting. I didn't feel enough at that time. That was a big part of that, and being disconnected to the Mexica aspect. Like you mentioned, Aztecas, they're the Mexica. The Mexica called themselves Mexicas. They never called themselves Aztecas. It was the colonizers that called them Aztecas. So that's a newer term. But I knew nothing about that ancient culture and those roots and those parts, and neither did my grandmother, neither did my mother, right? Because of colonization, right, and assimilation. Colonization happened, and for those indigenous peoples, their ways, their traditions, their culture was taken from them. They were forced to assimilate, to become, totally different than who they were. They weren't able to practice their ways, and they lost and forgot a lot of their ways. And not everyone. There's many indigenous peoples who continue to speak their indigenous languages, the Mexicas, and they speak them the Nahuatl, right? And there's so many other languages and so many other tribes within Mexico as well. But for my lineage, my grandmother, she had mentioned once that we had like a great grandmother who was indigenous, but she never recognized within herself that she had, indigenous roots. She was a very devout Catholic, very superstitious, like very dogmatic in those ways, but also very open to me and who I was, knowing that she may not have understood it, but she didn't speak ill about the things that I did. She just was like, you're doing your thing, I'm doing this thing. And Jesus is the way, and Mary was the way. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so you have this book about, reclaiming, rediscovering, reconnecting with roots, pick your RE word. And
Yeah.
because I like to play devil's advocate, right? Like what does that do for us? I also believe in sort of thinking about ancestry and roots, but like, what does it actually do for us? And like, how do you do it? When someone listening is like, yeah, but I got bills to pay. And I can't afford to go to Guatemala, or like, I can't afford to go to, Africa, or I can't afford, right? So how do we do it? And what does it do for us?
So, yeah, remembering your roots, remembering yourself. It's remembering aspects of yourself, parts of yourself. It's what it is it's you being grounded like the roots of a tree. You are like a tree, right? So you're rooted and grounded. When you remember your roots, you have a stronger foundation, and you live in a way like a tree does, which is the embodiment of like reciprocity. And the tree is the embodiment of living in a good way on here on earth, right? It's interconnected to all things through its root system. It's interconnected to the ecosystem through the mycelium. So it's living in reciprocity. It's giving and receiving. And that keeps it healthy. That keeps it happy in harmony, right? And then it allows it to grow and rise up. So when you're remembering your roots, you're like that tree. You're being able to be grounded and able to like reach up, rise up, live in liberation and freedom as well, right? To be able to be yourself, to shine in your individuality, your authenticity, your uniqueness, but still live in a way that keeps you rooted and grounded and interconnected to the worlds within worlds, the world within yourself as well, to all parts of yourself. So this is it. Yeah, you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. It's about you maybe going within yourself, you could say. That's essential. It's remembering parts of yourself. And when you start to trace your roots back, you realize, wow, I have incredible ancestors that lived really beautifully, and there are wise ancient ancestors that you can connect to with your intention. It's all about your intention and your awareness, your recognition. And also there's parts, right, that we get to heal within our roots. So when you're doing this work, it's like equal parts of being empowered as well as like healing those roots, because there's a lot of trauma and intergenerational trauma that's been passed down through you, whether you know it or not. So no matter what, whether you realize it or not, you have a relationship with your ancestors and with your roots. So you're either going to carry out a legacy of their beauty and their wisdom, or you'll carry out their legacy of their trauma and their wounds. So this work is essential. Like, you get to know yourself to live an empowered and beautiful life, and to pay those bills, like, that's essential as well. But you want to live a good life. You're here you got this one lifetime, right? At least in this exact form that you have found yourself in. So we want to live it the best to our ability.
Beautiful. And I don't want to turn the book into like 5 ways to do this, but what is like one way right now someone listening is like,
Yeah.
I can go a little deeper.
Yes. Foods is a beautiful and easy and simple way and powerful way to connect with your ancestral roots. What were your ancestors eating, right? If you are from Mesoamerica, the Three Sisters is a really beautiful way to connect with your ancestral foods. The Three Sisters is maize, corn, beans, and squash. It's the simplest, cheapest thing you can go buy at the store, and it's the healthiest thing that you can eat. It's actually what people in Nosara, Costa Rica eat, and that is actually a blue zone, which means that they live to be centurions. They live past 100. They live the healthiest, the best lives that they can. And that's what they're eating. That's the reason why they're living so long, is because of their diet. Connect with these beautiful foods and like make the intention of like, I'm wanting to call in the ancestors right here. Again, it's all about intention. So it's how open do you want to be? How open you are is how deep you're going to be able to go. Another easy way is cacao. Like, most people have some cacao beans or powders or nibs or something in their refrigerator or pantry. Use that, work with that. You can like blend that with hot water in a blender, and you can drink that if you don't have ceremonial cacao. If you're wanting
tell us more about like cacao, like
yeah.
Cacao ceremonies. I mean, we live in LA. There are cacao ceremonies everywhere. I don't think in Nebraska there are as many cacao ceremonies. No shade on Nebraska. What is cacao, or why cacao, or how is a Hershey's chocolate bar different than, or what I'm getting in the supermarket different from cacao? Yeah.
So chocolate is highly processed cacao. It extracts just the flavor. It takes away the living enzymes and the fat. That fat is where the medicine is. So when you have chocolate, you're eating some of the flavor of cacao, but you're not getting the health benefits of it, right? When you have cacao in its pure form, it's a superfood as well as a spiritual aid. It has so many incredible properties like anandamide, the bliss molecule, theobromine, that gently energizes you. You have magnesium, which the people in the Western world are so deficient in magnesium. It's like essential. It feeds your brain. It also relaxes your muscles. It has vitamins and nutrients and antioxidants. So it's a powerhouse in antioxidants. It's beautiful medicine. And then on a deeper level, it's been used for thousands of years. So the Mexica, the Maya, and before then, the Olmecas even were using cacao in ceremony, and they were using it for everything between life and death. And this is like embodiment medicine. So what it does is it supports you to really feel deeply into your heart, to feel deeply into your body. And it can go where you're wanting to go and how open you are wanting to be, but it'll help you feel more deeply into your emotions, into your feelings. So on a physical level, because of all of those properties I mentioned, you're going to feel really good. A lot of people will feel euphoric. Some people will even get off antidepressants and they will look for cacao and work with cacao, because it's a beautiful supplement, right? And I'm not a doctor, so don't, take that as advice, like that kind of advice. But it's a beautiful medicine to work with. They call it heart medicine for a reason, because it helps to heal your heart. And many people feel it is that like medicine that supports you in connecting to your roots. I get that every time I have a ceremony. Someone sees their ancestors, feels their ancestors, like they're with us within that space. So you can order ceremonial cacao very easily. I have it on my website. The cacao that I have is called Soma Lux cacao, and it's made traditionally made with intention. So it's called ceremonial cacao because it's made ceremonially. And that means it's made with prayers and blessings and intention from, the harvesting of it to the block that you receive. And it's not processed very much, right? It's very simple and pure. So the way that it is made is that you gather the beans, you ferment the beans, you lightly roast the beans, then hand peel the husk, and then you stone grind into a block paste form. So it's as traditional as you can get it, as pure as you can get it. And again, when you taste the difference between that and like nibs or something, there's an energetic difference. It's like when your grandmother makes you soup versus when you get soup from like whatever store, there's a huge difference.
How much cacao are you drinking on a daily basis?
I don't drink cacao daily, and I don't recommend for anyone to do anything really daily. I like to drink cacao like 3 times a week. And it's, it's still a plant medicine, a plant ally. It's not a psychedelic, but again, it is this potent and gentle, beautiful plant, right? It is consciousness shifting as well. So you're going to feel different. It's going to expand your mind in ways. You're not going to see anything, but you're going to feel open and beautiful. And there are other consciousness shifting herbs. So for you, if you have a background and you're like, that's not my ancestral plant and I don't really feel called to work with that in particular, there are others that you can work with. Look into and do the research to see like what plants your ancestors work with, right? Like there's other beautiful consciousness shifting herbs like blue lotus. There's the lavender. There's like kanna, not kava, kanna. That's a different thing. Even chamomile. So like do the research to feel into that and check it out.
Okay, so what's the first time you drank like what did it where you were like, this is my life now?
The first time I drank cacao, I was at yoga teacher training and I was introduced to the Mayan cacao from Guatemala. And I was like, wait, what? I had no idea that there was anything that my ancestors had worked with, that there was anything beautiful really from that lineage. Especially because the trauma with my father, I just kind of associated him with kind of like negativity and he was depressed, right? So that's all I knew about that side of me, that was there. So learning that and then feeling the cacao in the ceremony, I was like, wait, what? Like I was reconnected to my heart in that very first ceremony. I knew first or second ceremony, I knew for sure that I was like, I'm going to work with this medicine for myself, for my healing, but I'm also going to share it. And I want to share it with the world. Like I want everyone to know about this medicine because this can help heal the world. Like, can you imagine if people were going to a cacao shop instead of a Starbucks and like checking in with their hearts before they went about their day, like what that could do to our world. So yeah, I was obsessed from the get-go and just super excited to share it. And it's something that's just so accessible and easy. Like you can order it right now. And then get it in a couple of days. It's wild and have these, transformative experiences. And the more I worked with it, the more beautiful my life has gotten. It really supported me in so many different ways. And and opening me up to connecting with my roots, my ancestors, and also like my creativity. I wrote my first book on and with the support of cacao and feeling like I was like channeling the cacao spirit. It was really special. And that was a really fun book. That's like a fiction fantasy book for the inner child, but for adults. Cool. Yeah. So
what's that called?
A Child of Magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. So this new book that's in the world, it's not just about cacao.
No. Remember your roots?
Yeah. So what else? Food is one way. Cacao was yours, 3 sisters. What else?
Yeah.
Can people expect when they read it?
Yeah, so the book is 13 chapters, which in the Maya believe that 13 represents wholeness and completion. So we begin with the body, and then we go into mind, go into soul, relationships, ancestors. The importance of ceremony is in there. The elementals, Mother Earth, right? The inner child, like magic part, all parts of ourselves, really connecting to all parts of ourselves, love, God. And so another way that you can connect is going out into nature, like go outside, get outside. You know, it's essential for us to be outside more, realizing that we are nature, and also receiving from nature and giving to nature. Like you can start to feel into that reciprocal relationship that you have, right? Like you're giving them air with your breath. They're giving you in return, even oxytocin. If you hug a tree for over 20 seconds, you will receive oxytocin from the tree. And just like you were hugging, if you were hugging like a pet or a loved one, you know, it's very special, very beautiful. But yeah, get outside.
Forest bathing.
Yeah. Just being out in nature with the waters, if there's a river or a lake or just the trees or whatever's near you, but just get yourself outside more and get sun on you like daily. You actually need sun every day, and it's supporting you with your vitamin D. You know, we know this, but then there's all this other stuff about you need to have protection on your skin. You really need to be getting more sun. Most people need a lot more sun, and they're not out there enough. So yeah, just being with the elements, connecting with the elements, also knowing that the elementals are your ancestors as well, right? When you trace your roots back, you also realize, oh, I'm part of this incredible ecosystem, and you belong to so much beauty, and that includes the elementals. So going out and connecting with the waters, with the air, with the trees, right? Also with the fire, like you can light a candle. That's another way you can connect, and connecting with the fire and noticing like the fact that you are just like those elementals, right? You have the air, like your breath, the wind, right? You have the body that's like the earth, right? You have the waters, it's like the blood in your body, and the fire is like the heart. So just even seeing that and feeling into that, like just give yourself a moment to feel into your body and that process and how you have that all within you as well.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
you open the door to your roots. You open the door to sort of the Guatemalan part of you. Does that, do you think about, have you healed this trauma, you say, with your father? Do you have more of an appreciation or an understanding, or yeah?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot to work through with our families, and for me, my story is like very interesting, and I haven't shared all of the details because I'm learning more about my father even till this day. Like it wasn't even a month ago that I found his journals and read some new things that I hadn't known about him. So my understanding of him was very limited, right? I had communicated with him through letters growing up, from 13 on. 13 till 18, excuse me. Then 22, I find some of his writings and I realize, oh, he was an avid reader and he used to like to write. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. But I'm putting that away, and was very traumatized by his leaving, because a month before that, actually, I had wanted to connect with him. A month before that, I had connected with family and I had wanted to connect with him, but I hadn't reached out. I didn't have his number, and I wasn't in a place to ask for the number. So I felt like I had lost that opportunity, and I was angry at myself. I was angry at the circumstances. And then I dreamt of him actually a week later. And in the dream, he had come to me and had told me that I had saved him. And we had cried, and it was just this like beautiful thing. And I woke up like that wasn't even real. Like I was pissed. I was so hurt. I was so sad. I was like devastated. I was like, what? That was even traumatic in a way. The dream was like too much. And then I put all of that away and I put him away. Then Cacao comes back and I'm like, wow, this is this beautiful thing that comes from our people. This is amazing. And so it opened me up to his spirit in a sense. And then more recently, it was maybe like 2 years ago, where I learned more traumatic things about him that were really devastating, and that he was abusive and a lot of other things. And it was really hurtful and really sad, even though I didn't know him and didn't really have a relationship with him. Still, he's my father. And so it was really hurtful to learn this. And I had to work through that, which took time. And then it cast like this dark shadow on that, right? Which I had all this like light there. And then I also realized like I've been having this beautiful connection with his spirit, and on that other side, wherever he may be, there's a different perspective that he's coming to me from, and I can feel that and have felt that. And so anyways, I'd had those writings of him a couple of years ago when I learned about that he was abusive. I put that away, and I just a month ago opened it back up again and found more writings in there and learned that he was on an actual spiritual path, and he was more on a Buddhist path, and that he had sat in ceremonies. He had even, I think, tried ayahuasca. It wasn't a full dose, but anyway, it was just like very fascinating to learn about that, because I had no idea that he was like spiritual at all. I knew he was into like self-help books, but I was like, that didn't really help him, did it? Right. So I wanted nothing to do with his self-help books. Those were the only things that he left me were like his writings and some books. And that was, and then I find also more information about like his best friend. And I found his best friend's number, and I called the best friend, and I was like, I just found your number, and I wanted to reach out for more than a couple of reasons. Then later that day, a crow is following me, and that's his nickname was Crow. A crow starts to follow me on my walk with my best friend's dog that I'm babysitting. And it's following me, and it's like playing with my hat. It's like flying and hitting my hat. And I have video of this. And the crow keeps moving and walking with me. And it was just like, yeah, it's so special to know that, like, even if you can't have a relationship or didn't have a relationship with some of your relatives in this lifetime, your ancestors are there, and you can connect with whichever ones that you would like to. You can make that intention of calling in the ones that are, well and healed and unconditionally loving, right? Because we have ancestors from all different walks and backgrounds, and you don't want to maybe call all of them in. However, he is one that's like definitely guiding me and has supported me, and it's like on that side, there's a different perspective that he's coming from. That's a loving and spiritual and healed and well version. So,
do you know the Thich Nhat Hanh poem, Call Me By My True Name?
Please tell us some of it.
It's an incredible poem. I won't read the whole thing. I won't even read it, but his true name is everything, right? And so one of the lines I love the most is he says, I am the little girl with a gun in her mouth, swimming in the ocean, refugee trying to get free. I am also the pirate holding the gun, because I have not yet learned how to love. And so the whole poem is this: I'm this, and I'm this.
Exactly.
I'm the sufferer. I'm the creating the suffering. I'm all these things. But the reason I bring it up now is because I like how he says, I am the pirate who has not yet learned how to love. And so I think with our parents specifically, it takes a lot of sort of courage and the right timing and the right place. But I encourage everyone to re-meet their parents as people, not as parents, because the role of parent brings all this stuff that you think they should be. But they are people. They are people who are doing their best, who love as much as they can love and care as much as they can care and know as much as they can know. And I think we give them some responsibility, like they're supposed to, be perfect. We are not perfect, so why would they be perfect? And so everyone, I often, and in whatever time, I like the timing of your relationship with your father, because it'll be different in a month, in 2 months, in a year. And I worked with a beautiful director, like, God rest her soul, Lori Carlos, and Lori would say, it's not your job to figure something out. It's your job to keep walking forward. And then one day you're in the grocery store and it hits you, and you're like, fuck, that's what that means. Fuck, and so I really like that. And I love to watch you sort of creating this. If I think about your book and your work, and I think about roots and like, redwoods are my favorite thing in the world, and they're the oldest tree in the world, and it takes 3,000 years to become 300 feet tall.
Mhm.
And I think in this world of like more and more and more, do it now, do it immediately, content, content, content. Uh, we want to be 300 feet tall tomorrow, but it took 3,000 years to build the roots, and so this
Mhm.
idea of it's not even patience because like time just will do its thing no matter what, but just understanding that like roots take a minute to grow and to lengthen and to strengthen and all those things.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and so I commend you and compliment you and in sort of taking your time to let those roots grow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I love what you said about our parents. I talk about that in the book, in the relationships chapter, because yeah, we get to reframe how we see our parents, and we get to realize that they were here to bring us through. And at the base of it all, like we get to be grateful that they brought us into this life. Like we would not be here without them. So that's the fundamentals. And from there, knowing that we get to reparent ourselves, we get to be that best mother version and father version of ourselves to our inner child that will always be a part of us. And that's essential, because they're not perfect, like you mentioned.
I
Yeah.
always say like regardless of love, everyone wants like to be loved, but we forget about the basics of care, and like humans are the most helpless
Yeah.
creatures on the planet when we're born. I
Mhm.
mean, helpless.
Mhm.
Like you will die unless you have care.
Yep.
And I'm not even talking about love. And so regardless of your relationship with your parents or what you wanted from them or what they did to you,
Yeah.
you got just enough care
Mhm.
to make it
Yeah.
for a pretty long time. And that's incredible.
Mhm.
Like not love, care, because without it, you would have died.
Yes.
Um, because you can't do anything for so long as a child.
Yeah.
Um,
So true.
and, and I think that is sort of miraculous and can always give us a little bit of context about the how we were cared for, the miraculousness of just being cared for. Not love, not perfection, just enough care to be here now, maybe even to listen to this, to
Mhm.
create how we want to create, to even search for liberation in that
Mhm.
way. Uh, yeah, I
Yeah.
love all that. I'm on a Thich Nhat train in my mind now because he has a bunch of writings about, what you're saying. You can't do anything without all your ancestors in each act.
Mhm.
And each act is like your mother, your father, their father. It's in each breath and
Yes.
living in a more expansive way.
And if you've never connected with them, it can seem like, oh, where do I begin? We gave many examples, I think, here, but even just like if we can take a moment together to just close our eyes and to feel gratitude for our ability to be here now because of our ancestors and everything they went through, right? And the resiliency that they passed down to us because we are so incredibly resilient, and realizing everything they overcame, like how powerful to realize they overcame a lot to survive and for you to be here now as well.
Hmm.
And you can use your imagination to even maybe see them or just feel them, but they're smiling, they're grateful that you're here, and they're happy to see you thriving and to, feel into your liberation, feel into your interconnectedness and connection to them as well. Yeah, the word Matiosh is a Mayan word. It means gratitude. It means thank you. And it's not just a simple thank you, but deeply felt gratitude. And so I just want to say Matiosh to our ancestors. Matiosh, thank you for, opening this space.
Matiosh, thank you.
Mhm.
Two more questions. One is, are you liberated?
Yes.
Cool. Beautiful.
Yes. No doubt.
Beautiful. The second one is, where do they order the book? How do they know more about you? How do they sit in ceremony with you? All of the things.
Yeah, my website is I am Christine Olivia. My IG is Christine Olivia _. Christine, ChristinaOlivia _. So you can find me there. I have, the book's coming out July 9th. So excited for everyone to receive that. I will be having a in-person event. If you're listening to this, you are invited to come join me at Tia Chucha's.
Hey, great spot.
Poema. Yeah, beautiful. And I intend for it to be a full ceremony. I would love to have Mashika dancers and to share cacao, and Sisters of the One Drum want to come and share the drum medicine. So yeah, please join us.
They're good people. Luis and his wife made me soup after I did my book event there. They took me back to their house and we shared soup and stories, and they're fantastic people.
Oh, so that was my father's best friend.
What? Wow.
I just learned that. Yeah.
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 Wow. Yeah. Luis and Trini, they're amazing, the two of them, and they're very good people. They're beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
That's fun. Wow. You just learned that.
I just learned that a month ago. Yeah.
So wild. In the journals?
In the journals.
Yeah. Wow. That's and right, we don't know. We each are capable of what we're capable of when we're capable of it. And I will say, I didn't know your father, but I know if he was around Luis, he was striving for something, and he had a lot of love in him, and also probably a lot of other things that he was dealing with, but he was in good company. Yeah.
Indeed.
Wow.
Yeah. Wild.
Small world.
I know.
That's wild. That's super wild. Any questions for me?
No, I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. Yeah, for having me. This is so beautiful. And you're a beautiful human. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As are you. Okay, beautiful. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, everyone.